Beyond Reach podcast gives the voice to brands, athletes, organizations in the outdoor space industry. Through open conversation, you're going to discover their stories, their successes and challenges, but also their vision. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, welcome, Greg, in the podcast. Today is going to be all about lefties. So if you're a lefty, if you're listening or watching, this podcast episode is going to be for you. But first off, let's start with a quick game and know a little bit more about our guest. So, Greg, are you more coffee or tea?
I think I'd have to say I'm more of a coffee guy. I don't really drink coffee anymore. I don't drink tea at all. But I think from a flavor perspective, I'm definitely a coffee guy. But truth be told, I don't really drink either too much.
And if you have to drink one, do you put some milk or sugar in it or cream?
Yeah, just one cream for me, no sugar. I used to drink sugar in my coffee when I was younger, but honestly, it's repulsive to me now. If I ever have a coffee, it's definitely zero sugar, probably one cream.
Nice, taking care of your body. If you have to choose between like a salty food or a sweet food, which one would you pick?
I think I would definitely go with sweet, but I'm also a bit of a sucker for sweet and salty at the same time. So if you got a sweet treat with a little bit of some chocolate, like a chocolate pretzel or something like that, it's a killer combo. So I know that's a bit of a cheat, but yeah, I'll take sweet primarily, but sweet and salty is also great.
Nice. I'm hungry now. That's a good choice. Like a nice pretzel with chocolate. Nice. Would you prefer summer, winter, being in Canada?
Well, that's a tough one. Yeah, that's really tough. I think I prefer summer now that we're so much into golf, or that my life is revolving around golf. Summer for sure, but I'm a good old Canadian boy. I do love the winter. I love the cold weather. I run a little hot in general. I'm always kind of overheated. So the winter's great for that, but summer's got golf, so I'll take summer.
Cool. Well, I was gonna ask a question about the sport, but you kind of like share it with people. So you're all about golf. So can you present yourself, please?
Yeah, so my name is Greg Howard. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, and I'm an entrepreneur. So I started Left Behind Golf in 2020. And Left Behind Golf is a golf apparel company dedicated exclusively to left-handed golfers. So we started with gloves, but we've also got hats, hoodies, different golf, items, and they're all dedicated and produced exclusively for left-handed golfers because it's a world in which left-handed golfers are often, as the name suggests, left behind by your common retailer. So that's where we started.
Nice. So my first question is, what role did golf play in your life? How did you end up in golf?
Well, I used to golf a little bit when I was younger, but didn't golf for a long time. And my dad, way back in the day, was always trying to switch me over to a right-handed golfer. And I would always pick up his clubs. He was a right-handed golfer, and I would be swinging them the other way. And he would say, this is the way the sport goes. You have to be a lefty. And then I didn't play for a long time. And when I got back into it, the thought about it was like, am I really a lefty golfer? Am I a righty golfer? And started swinging the clubs again. And there was no doubt in my mind that I just felt better from the right side of the ball, which is a lefty golfer. And so I decided, because there was a number of things that I wanted when I started golfing again. I wanted some actually fashionable glove, was one of the first things that I was looking at. I wanted a red glove. Specifically, and couldn't find any really great options. And I said, why are these options so terrible for left-handed golfers? And as I got deeper into it, seeing how poor the situation was for a number of things across golf, and I said, no one's doing anything about this. I think there's enough lefty golfers out here that are feeling the pain. Always wanted to start a sports-based business myself. And so all those kind of things came together, and it made sense to just start it myself.
Nice. And so I know that you have also like some knowledge, like you said, outside that business. Before starting a business, you also learning how to run SaaS companies. Am I right?
No, so I wasn't running the SaaS companies, but I work in sales as an account executive in B2B sales. So sales is going to be useful for anything across the board. I went to school initially for philosophy, and then pivoted into a postgrad in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I was learning for a long time kind of, how to think, how to solve problems, how to start companies. And ultimately all those things just came together, and, the right skill set. Sometimes you can't find it out there in the job market, and you've got to create a space for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Like you have to be creative, and yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
it
Exactly.
does pay if you're in the right niche and if you're solving the right problem at the right time.
That's right.
What would you say, like nowadays, talking about the market, where is the lefties market nowadays in 2024?
Well, I'll say it's in a lot better shape than it was, in the past. Not necessarily just because of our efforts, but because of the efforts of a lot of people in left-handed golf. And the numbers are growing. The availability of equipment from the larger manufacturers has gotten better. So I would say a lot of people aren't forced to necessarily play right-handed. There's the availability of equipment for them to a greater extent than there used to be. And there's also greater representation. So you're starting to see a lot of younger lefty golfers coming up. There's a greater percentage of them making it to the pro tours and things like that. For many, many years, it was just a handful of guys. Mike Weir, who you can see here behind me, a Canadian hero, and of course our guy Phil Mickelson. So those are the main representatives. But you can look at guys like Akshay Bhatia, uh, Robert McIntyre. There's a lot of lefties that have had success this previous year on tour. Brian Harman was one of the guys that won the Open Championship in 2023. So there is a lot of success going on in the professional levels for left-handed golfers, and hopefully that will be trickling down and allowing people to understand that hey, this game can be played from the other side of the ball. There's companies like us that are coming up and kind of dedicating the things they do to left-handed golf, and that's as much about equipment as it is about representation in general. That there's a place for us to belong.
Yeah.
So the future is bright. Yeah, it's definitely looking better than it has in the past, and I see it growing quite quickly. In Canada, I think that anecdotally the numbers are about 30% of golfers here are left-handed golfers, and so we're somewhat the left-handed golfing capital of the world. Plenty
Yeah.
of lefty golfers in the United States as well, and internationally. So it's getting stronger.
Nice. And so what kind of problem did you face, and what kind of problem are we still facing as a lefty nowadays? From the
Yeah, I
equipment
think
to maybe the course.
yeah, it goes through all of those. So it's equipment, it's course designs, it's just generally representation. So if you look at like instruction, for example, it's very difficult for people to always be saying things the opposite way. So, for example, if I'm a right-handed golfer, my left side is on the front. So if they're talking about how to transfer your weight, they go, well, you got to get your weight on your right foot, release on your left foot. That's the opposite for a left-handed
Yeah,
golfer. So
exactly.
that's just an example, but I'm constantly translating and doing this mental gymnastics when I'm trying to learn different things or trying to work on pieces of my game. So that's one thing, definitely. The equipment for certain is not always available in the same quantities, and that's just economics, right? That's just business. These larger manufacturers are going to look at what the sales numbers are and what they can produce and what they can sell within a given year, because of course next year there's going to be a bigger and better thing. So they got to get rid of what they currently have. But that's all getting better. I mean, the courses oftentimes, yeah, are designed with right-handers in mind. But I think that's a smaller problem for lefties because we're creative, we adapt. It doesn't really matter what way you bend the hole. We'll try to figure it out. But certainly, representation from equipment is, perspective, and just generally when you see things about golf, you see a guy on a poster, or even if it's a cartoon, they're always going to be right-handed. If you see little trinkets that you get wherever for desk items, the golf club's going to be right-handed. So it gets down to nitty-gritty little stuff.
Yeah.
And just being able to see things like we've designed these hats that have got coming out soon. Normally when you'd see a hat like this, the golfer wouldn't be left-handed. This golfer is left-handed. So
That's
small
right.
things like that. Yeah.
That's right. So that's a perfect bridge to my next question of like how do you stay competitive in that market, because so it's competition within competition, like you said, it's getting better and better and the future is brighter for your kind of company, but also and most importantly for the customers that you have. Um, but yeah, how do you stay competitive? Like you said, like you have some innovations with like those hats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What
I
are
mean,
your
it's
secrets to that?
extremely difficult because the golf market is remarkably competitive.
Mhm.
The e-commerce space is competitive. Instagram's competitive. Everything that
Yeah.
you've got to do around promoting and selling your products is very competitive.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that remains important is having a very distinct idea of what your target market's problems are and how you can uniquely solve them. Right.
Mhm.
So I always focus very much on being in touch with the left-handed community, building it around that community, right? Not building it necessarily around, hey, these are technologically superior products. Like, we're not trying to compete in the space of, we don't have the research and development department that TaylorMade does. That's the reason that we maybe don't get into clubs directly. But we remain competitive by, first of all, niching down, right? A lot of golf companies are coming out that are just, very broad. Maybe they just have polos or anything like that. And that's even more difficult to compete with because, again, you don't have a specific target profile that you're solving a very specific problem for. So we focus, specifically on lefties, and being a left-handed golfer myself, I have a very intimate knowledge of what those challenges and those problems are and the frustrations that left-handed golfers experience. And so I'm very, very adamant about everything that we do in the business being centered around that. Folks will ask me all the time, "Hey, are you ever going to make really good gloves?" I'm a right-handed golfer. I'd love to wear one of your gloves. Are you ever going to make gloves for us? And my answer is no. I simply refuse to. Perhaps there would be a time I'll start another glove company and it can be for everybody. And we can try to compete on a different basis, but everything we do is centered around lefties, the frustrations that lefties experience, and I simply refuse to compromise that. It will weaken our message, it will weaken our proposition, and weaken how we can compete.
Yeah, so basically you're creating your own products. Whatever you feel it's missing in your arsenal, you'll be like, oh, let's create that. I think it's something I need, and everybody is going to need it.
Exactly. If you experience the frustration of being a left-handed golfer, then you know how tricky it can be to find a glove that you really like and a style that you really like. So we started there. We've got hats that are coming out now, and again, the idea is representation. So all the little guys and little things that you see on our hats are all, even if it's subtle, right, dedicated to left-handed golfers, and just putting little bits out there that, in the future, there's going to be a lot more of this stuff, but we just want to be able to try to lead the way in making it, normalizing, hey, the thing on your hat or the thing on your desk doesn't have to be necessarily a right-handed thing. And then hopefully that's just a slow little thing that will, like the drip of water that'll break through the rock slowly. It doesn't seem very significant, but it could, help to cause some different changes in representation.
Like I said, just before we started that podcast, I said that I was going to have some question I didn't have in the script. And that's one of my questions. If you're a lefty, does it mean that you're left-handed, like you're writing from your left? Or do you have some people that write with the right hand, you know?
It's a good question. And there's an entirely strange mix of different combinations. So a lot of left-handed golfers are in fact right-handed. Like, you can see there's a video of Phil Mickelson, and people were getting really upset about it because he was throwing a football in this video, and he was throwing the football with his right arm. And a lot of people, especially in Canada, one of the theories is that we're so strong to left-handed golf because of hockey. And so in hockey, a lot of guys are in fact right-handed, but they'll shoot left because they often have one hand on the stick, right? You want your strong hand on top of the stick. You start shooting left, you swing left in golf. But I also meet a ton of people that will love our stuff because they're actually they're left-handers. They'll write with their left hand, but they play golf right-handed. And so there's literally just a strange mix of ambidextrous folks doing different things in different ways. But yeah, to answer your question in short, lots of left-handed golfers are right-handed. Lots of right-handed golfers are left-handed. It's a bit of a weird mix.
And how do you find out? Like, because you said, like, if you're a hockey player, it might be super easy to find out based on your practice of hockey. But I'm not playing golf personally. How do I know if I'm?
So I would say, pick up a club, and it really comes down to comfort. And a lot of people will tell you, if you're trying to get into more competitive golf and you're younger and they're trying to shape you, it's like, where do you swing harder, right? Or which side do you swing faster from, is what a lot of, I think, instructor types would probably tell a younger golfer kind of getting into it that was really trying to make a go at competitive golf. A lot of us, especially at our age, are not doing that, right? So it's like, how do you feel comfortable? Swing speed isn't necessarily the thing that a lot of people are getting into the game at an older age are going to say, I'm really just looking to see how fast I can swing the club. A lot of people just want to get out there and have fun, be comfortable. And so literally it's, pick up the clubs, swing the clubs, and how do you feel more comfortable? What do you feel makes more sense? And ultimately hit a couple balls, right? Where are you better? That's what I think, there's nothing in the stars about whether people are because again, you could be a left-handed person and golf right just because that's the way it feels comfortable, vice versa, just because that's the way it feels comfortable, or
Yeah,
because you
sure.
played another sport that geared you up for those mechanics.
Yeah.
Lots of different reasons. It's a strange world.
In term of prices, is it more expensive to be a lefty, or is it more expensive to be, because the market is so small?
Yeah, it's probably slightly more expensive to be a lefty just because the clubs that you're looking to buy um, are often less available, and then the resale market, I'll say, is definitely more expensive for a lefty because the just the supply isn't as great. Um, but oftentimes, if you're this is more now. In the past, it's been different. Sometimes you'd see lefty stuff would go on sale more because they couldn't get rid of it. Like there weren't enough lefties. I've heard a lot of people in the U.S. will tell me stories about, oh, it must be nice to get cheap lefty clubs because they see the bargain market stuff, but probably it's been sitting there for 5 seasons, and that's probably why they saw it as cheaper. In today's market, oftentimes you're not going to see a huge price difference. Like if it's TaylorMade releases two identical sets, right-handed and left-handed, they're not charging more for the left-handed set,
Yeah.
which is great. But there may be ways in like the resale market where again, there's a lot of stuff that isn't made for left-handers, different specifications. There's lots of different ways to build a golf club, for example. So we call them specs, and the way that it works is there's different adapters, there's different shafts, there's different lofts of different club heads. There's all sorts of different ways to put clubs together, and not every single option is offered for left-handers all the time. So you'll find a lot of stuff, or far fewer of them are made, and then they get bought up, and then they're being resold on the secondary market. The secondary market for left-handed golfers can be more expensive because again, the supply isn't as great.
And so same thing, an off script question, because I'm not playing golf, so it might be a stupid question for people listening to us and playing golf.
No, fire
Like
away.
most people do, but so you said I'm a lefty, so I'm on the right side of the ball. So I
Right.
suppose that my right hand is on the top and my bottom hand is on the bottom.
Yeah, that's right. So your right hand, in my case, as a left-handed golfer, will be on the top of the club,
Yeah.
and then your dominant, your the hand you swing with, you swing with both arms, but the hand that you're called, like the left hand, will go second below it.
Okay.
So that will be behind you on what you call your
Yes.
trail
Okay.
side.
Okay. So the glove is on the left hand. Okay. Cool.
So
Okay.
well, for left-handed golfers, the glove is on the right hand.
It's on the right.
So that's
Okay. So
so
that was my
everybody,
question.
yeah. So this
Okay.
this is
Okay.
yeah, this is something to pick apart because it gets everybody, right. Right-handed golfers wear a glove on their left hand. Left-handed golfers wear a glove on their right hand. So if you see a right-handed golf glove, it's actually for lefties.
Okay.
So this is really fun for marketing and SEO and all those other kinds of
Yeah.
things, right? To not confuse people. But yeah, so as a left-handed golfer, we say the right side of the ball because if I'm walking towards the ball, right, the lefties are going to go on the right, and the left is because when I turn, right, now my left side is behind me.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the glove is on the right hand. It's on the top
Okay.
of the club.
Yeah.
And there's lots of reasons and
Okay.
kind of funny stories around why that is. But yeah, one glove on the top for a lefty, it's on the right hand.
Okay. Same thing. Probably a stupid question. Why don't we wear two gloves? A pair of gloves.
So interesting. Yeah, I saw a post the other day, and to be honest, I don't know. This is just completely a speculative thing that I saw, and it said something about they used to wear two gloves, or they actually used to wear no gloves because of the types of grips that they use. But as the materials changed, they started to think about wearing two gloves because, like, baseball wears two gloves, for example.
Yep.
But there was something about gloves or the material for gloves being expensive, and they wore out more quickly than in other sports. So it was actually like in older times, it was more difficult for people to constantly be replacing their gloves. So they decided to start wearing one. There's more tension on the top hand when you swing a golf club. And the joke that they put into this little video I saw was that they needed a free hand for smoking and drinking. So it worked out that they just have the one hand free for their cigarette or their drink or whatever. They started wearing one golf glove. But to be honest, I don't fully know why. Some people wear two golf gloves. One thing is it's not necessary. It definitely is only necessary to wear it on the one hand. Some people wear two gloves, like rain gloves, if it's wet out, come in a set. So you'll have two of them. But I don't have a perfect answer for why golfers only wear one golf glove, but it's somewhere in the mix of all those things I said.
Nice. So now kind of like a hard question. What's breaks your heart the most in this industry?
Um, I think it's just I don't know if it breaks my heart, but it's just it's a hyper competitive industry right now, and I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are kind of popping into it as an opportunity. Like you see a lot of glove or companies that are coming up. Um, that are kind of very cookie cutter of other companies that have already existed. And I think, yeah, it doesn't break my heart. But one frustrating thing is there's a lot of lack of creativity in some of the companies that are coming out. And then there's the other end of it where there's like an extreme level of creativity with some of these brands that are coming out. Um, and really being more unique and really putting their personal stamp on, especially from a fashion perspective. But yeah, I think a lot of companies that come out, they just see the wave, and people think that you can start a company, you can put a logo on a hat, you can put a logo on a polo, and you have a golf company. And I promise you, it's not that simple. You've got to give people a reason to care, right? More than just having a colorful polo or a hat that looks like it's a golf hat or whatever it might be. A lot of golf companies that are starting out don't tend to focus on the why. They just say, okay, well, I play golf. I've got a logo. Let's start. And I would encourage anybody who's getting into the golf business or wants to start a company, really consider the why. Really consider, why you're different. If I'm buying your stuff, why do I care? Right. Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't come in and really consider that. I think they just think they can make a logo and put it on a thing and people will buy it. And I've seen a lot of people try that and not succeed. So that's hard to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, well, it's just like also if you decide to do that, I suppose that you're not necessarily like a good entrepreneur, like trying to solve a problem. You're just trying to make up
Right.
your
You're just
mind
trying to
that you
ride the
can have
wave and you
something
didn't.
fun to do and yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what was the and what is maybe still one of the biggest challenge talking about entrepreneurship? What is the biggest challenge that you faced and maybe still faced growing your brand?
Yeah. I think for us specifically, especially because we're such a niche business, right? It's like getting attention and staying relevant and staying in front of everybody's eyes,
Mhm.
right? I was never a huge social media guy when I started this, and a lot of entrepreneurs want to start businesses. And the way it is now, you're quickly finding that you've actually entered the content creation game.
Mhm.
So I've really spent a lot of time over the last year, especially really trying to get my chops up, really trying to get myself involved with kind of this founder led content that is it's just a really strong thing to be doing to keep people in touch with your business and to communicate your values and your mission and all that. But isn't necessarily the thing we all thought that we were getting into. So I think definitely as a niche business, keeping the sales up is difficult, but that comes down to having the right amount of attention, having the right amount of the right mix of things. There's so many things that you can spend money and time on. And there's only so many things that really give you that the correct return. So I think, yeah, just staying present, staying relevant is very hard. It's like I said, there's a lot of companies out there right now.
And so to like if you have to give maybe some advices on like and maybe some hints on your marketing strategy, what does it consist on?
Yeah, so I think I try to keep everything in terms of messaging really problem based. Like it's got to be focused around the frustrations of our left-handed golfing community. So
Mhm.
it's all very community based. I make sure that we do a lot of social media. Right. So that's like the main thing that we're doing. We obviously have our email list as well. And it's like any kind of funnel, right? You've got people that have differing levels of interest or people who don't even know you yet. And
Yeah.
so on the you don't know us yet, and it's like social media and reels and things that get pushed out
Hmm.
to audiences that may have not been exposed to you before. And then, of course, as people kind of get into the community and get into knowing you, you can be sending sort of different personal, email marketing and stuff like that is really important because there's more of a personal touch to it, and it's your list, so to speak. It's the list that you've built. It's not just the mass ocean of social media.
Yeah.
But definitely those couple of things. I mean, the website and SEO as well, but I focus really largely on social media because it is a community we're building. It is about people at the end of the day,
Yeah.
lefty golfers specifically, but social media is the key place for that. I'm on Instagram mainly, which connects with Facebook. I'm gearing up to do TikTok. I don't know if I'm ready on a personal level to die, but I won't call it a necessary evil. That might be a little strong, but it's not something I
Yeah.
want to do. But it's something that we'd be wise to be doing. So I'll be looking into to getting that started as well.
Yeah, it's funny like that you react like that to TikTok, because there's like, I'm not on TikTok myself, and the business is not, because the audience is not on TikTok for us. But it's funny that you say that, because like a lot of people are, I think they see an opportunity, they understand it, but I think it's because it's Chinese. I think there is like a fear also of like, as a business, to I don't know if it's about the data. I don't know if it's about, is it relevant? I like, why are you reacting like that? That would be a good
Yeah,
question.
for me, it's very much not about the company or sort of all the hoopla that's going on around privacy and data information and all of that stuff. It has actually nothing to do with that. It's more to do with like just society, where things are at, like this quick hit, no attention span, and
Yeah,
it just is the way it is. But on a personal level, I get frustrated by
yeah,
some of the things that go on in the game, and I think we all do with Instagram, and even with my own content. There'll be stuff that I pour my heart into, it goes nowhere, and then there's like this little dinky doo 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 little noise that you put with some couple flashing pictures, and it goes wild and crazy, right?
yeah,
So I think that there's, yeah, I don't love the idea of like playing into it all, but at the end of the day, like, who am I, right? It is what it is. I've got to get over my own little personal block,
yeah,
and understand that there is value
yeah,
in everything that's going on. There's just different sorts of value. You've got a good mix.
yeah, yeah. But it's also important to stay true to yourself, and that's also shaping the bold brand that uh, you're managing. So it's also important to think about it. So, and don't force yourself necessarily to go in something and participate to something that you don't
Yeah. I
believe
think
in.
our customer, our customers, our supporters, whatever, however you want to put it,
Mhm.
um, they're there. There's an opportunity for us to appeal to whether it's a younger or just a different audience that may not be exposed to us from Instagram.
Yeah,
And a lot of, I think, the content it's recyclable. You can use a lot of
yeah,
it across the two platforms, so it's not like it's going to be a completely new thing that I have to
yeah,
create completely new things for. So yeah, I think it's in my best interest. I just have to get over the fact that, yeah, we all got a short attention spans, and maybe some of the content that's out there is frustrating to see that this is what the world is into, but it is what it is. And I'll get over it.
And so now, with like a few years under your belt, what keeps you motivated to do what you do?
Good question. And sometimes I don't know, because I think if you're just going based on motivation, like, you're not always motivated, right? Like, I'm not motivated every day to do it, right? And sometimes I don't know why I keep showing up, but I do, and I know it's important to. And I think I tell people all the time, I think it was like a Woody um, Woody Allen quote or something like that, that 80% of success is just showing up, right? So sometimes I think people get bogged down in the idea of needing motivation, and they think that motivation is what does it. And sometimes it's just like, no, you have a mission, you have a goal. And I guess, you could call that motivation, but you kind of have to turn off the noise to some extent and just show up.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's one of the big differences, that to your point about being competitive. There were a lot of people that started golf companies in 2020. And I
Mhm.
know a lot of those companies aren't here anymore. And it's not like I'm any smarter or any, better at business.
Yeah,
I just kept getting punched in the face and showing up every day,
yeah,
expecting another punch, and knowing that I'd get better from it.
yeah. And so it all comes up to being disciplined and consistent with this
Yeah.
discipline.
I
Yeah.
think that has a lot more to do with it than staying motivated, because Lord knows I battle that.
But it's part of it. If you're disciplined, the motivation will come back. And so
That's
like the
right. Yeah.
discipline is really here when it's hard, when it's, I mean, like during winter, it's probably a hard time for you, like business wise. So yeah, you need to be disciplined to go through it and get innovative, so it's not so bad and all. So
Yeah.
I suppose it's yeah, like in terms of season, that's also like, that could be a great question. Like, you have a really good season, which is probably spring, summer, and autumn. But during winter, what do you do? Is it like holiday time for you?
No, not necessarily. I think, interestingly, a lot of people think of it like there's an off season.
Yeah,
I would say there's maybe like an off month. I would say maybe January. Like
Okay.
literally January is kind of like if I was going to take a some downtime to not do anything, it would probably be in January, and that's only because that's right after the Christmas season. So I mean, you're always as soon as November hits, it's Black Friday, it's what like there's very little like even in Canada, obviously the golf season runs into probably the beginning of November, so we're up until end of October.
Yeah.
Some courses even will stay open later, different parts of Canada.
Yeah.
And then you hit kind of the November, December run for the holidays.
Yeah.
Like again, January might be a bit of a dry spot, but February we start the golf trade shows. So we actually do quite well at those. We do the Toronto Golf and Travel Show. And this year we're going to be looking at doing the Niagara Golf and Travel Show as well as the one in Ottawa.
Okay.
So that those all happen sort of in that February, early March sort of space.
Yeah.
And then by the time that wraps up, it's mid-March, April.
Yeah.
We're back, right? So, and during that January kind of even December period, you're still going to be super busy planning and ordering and getting things set for the following year, because that's when golf courses are buying. That's when you want to make sure you have all your, because you don't want to be in March or April putting an order in if you're getting something from overseas or you're importing. It could take 6 weeks, right? So yeah, I mean, as much as it seems like there's an off season in golf, and add that to the fact that we sell all over the U.S. I mean, California stays warm, Florida stays warm, Texas stays warm, so
Yeah.
there's always something to do. I know it seems like there's Canada has a short golf season, but we have simulators as well now too, so people are still using gloves.
Good news for you. And so we are like towards the end now of the episode. I hope everybody is enjoying all those great answers, and I hope you like my questions too. But in the next 5 years, next to five, even maybe 10, if you have that kind of vision, what is your goal with your brand? Do you want to expand? Do you want to innovate and create new products? Do you have like some ideas maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to start collaborating. I'm not sure who the vendors would be, but to get into clubs would be, um, a really big goal of mine. And I don't believe that manufacturing ourselves is really the best way to go about it. Again, why do people care? It's like, if I had a choice even personally between, oh, there's a small company over there of a few people, and here's TaylorMade with millions of dollars of research and development and marketing budget, like whose clubs do you want? Well, they're probably making better clubs, let's be honest, right? So whether it's collaborating with one of those guys or collaborating with some of the more boutique club builders, but still, established in the game, and perhaps collaborating and creating a partnership on different stuff that they create just exclusively for lefties. Expanding the product line, expanding what we do from a content perspective is also a big deal to me. I'd love to start getting, on YouTube and doing longer form content, and just having different things for people to engage with, right? For left-handed perspective, I myself am an okay golfer, but I don't think that I'm going to be, follow me for a round or going out, a la good. And everyone watches me golf for 4 hours, something like that, right? So, but I would like to grow a team that can help do things like that. I would like to collaborate with some other companies to get into some new products that perhaps aren't best to develop myself, which mainly clubs and other things like that. And ultimately just grow the content, grow the number of problems we're solving for lefties. And the real big picture goal is, hey, maybe at some point, one of these bigger companies, even if it's not through like acquiring us or doing something else, like addresses the issue on their level, right? Like if all of a sudden TaylorMade just started, or again, Titleist, any of them, things they didn't used to do for lefties, they start doing. They start seeing this wave in left-handed golf. They say, okay, not only are these, tons of left-handed golfers, they've got these brands that are coming out now catering just to left-handed golfers, and they see stuff like that and they go, okay, we got to react, right? They've got to respond somehow. So even though it would be a situation in which maybe they could offer things that we don't, I started this as a left-handed golfer, not as a business guy, right? So I started as I had things that I wanted the industry to change and to recognize that there's enough left-handed golfers to serve us better. And ultimately, if that happens on a large level, whether we're engaged with it or not, I think that's a win.
Nice. Can you talk about, I know you have some ambassadors. Can you talk
do,
about
yeah.
that program and what you do with them?
Yeah, it's called the Lefties Unite program, and what I focus on there, again, you don't have to be Phil Mickelson or anywhere near it. Like, I wasn't looking for professional golfers or um, even professional coaches or anything like that. Really, what I wanted to work with was anybody who's contributing to the growth of the left-handed golfing community. So if you're producing content, you're a junior player, or maybe you're just on like a smaller tour of like, we've got some guys from like the bag tour, or you're performing, or you're doing really anything to grow and teach left-handed golf and to focus on left-handed golf.
Yeah.
Then I was like, yeah, like I wanted ambassadors that could do that and be able to kind of share. Again, from a golfing perspective, I wanted people who were better at golfing than me at some points, but then I expanded it a little bit and said, okay, well, it's not just necessarily about people that golf really well. Even if you don't golf really well, but you're serving the lefty golf community, you're making content dedicated to lefties, and you're really just part of this wave that we're trying to build. And so it was more about community than exclusivity. It didn't mean you had to be, again, some well recognized or highly established golfer. It was more about grassroots. I think is what I'm trying to get at, right? A really grassroots initiative around people that are hand over fist in the golfing community, just getting things done. And I wanted to be able to highlight and also support just people out there doing their thing.
Cool. Do you have it's a lot of information, so thank you for all your time and all that. I really appreciate it, especially because I'm not in the golf community, so it's nice to understand all the.
Yeah, there's a lot to pick up and a lot of nuance with why this lefty golf thing matters, but that's the whole idea, right? Now someone who didn't know knows,
Exactly.
and hopefully there's a ripple effect to that, and we can grow this thing, even if it's just a little bit.
I was thinking of I know like some students, like they do like PhDs. Maybe someone's going to do a PhD on left-handies and trying to know more about it across Canada.
Yeah.
Or so, and being in Toronto,
Hopefully they give me a call and I get to be part of that study.
Yeah, you could be a part. I know it's like a friend of like my wife's friend that did kind of like a PhD around hockey and the language that they use in hockey, and is there like a proper Canadian vocabulary and all that stuff. Like she did like a PhD, like it took like years and years.
Yeah.
I can't really talk about it because I don't know much about it and I'm not like a PhD person, but it's really interesting.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, you do a dissertation and you defend a thesis on, here's my ideas around why, left-handedness in golf is there's some interesting studies that are already out there, so you're not far off.
Yeah. Do you have like a final word that you want to share with the community, your community, but also community that is just like watching that and discovering yourself?
Yeah, I just think anybody that's, a left-handed golfer, definitely make sure to check us out. There's a place for us to be. We're going to be, continuing to grow this thing from products and a content perspective. So, anytime you have any questions about left-handed golf or just in general, feel free to DM me. People DM Left Behind Golf all the time and don't recognize that they're talking directly to me. So there's no layers or anything like that. Drop me a line. And same thing for all burgeoning entrepreneurs out there. I'm always happy to talk shop. If people are thinking about starting a golf business, whether it's got to do with lefties or not, I'm more than happy to help others grow. Hopefully there's some insight that I can provide to you that'll save you some of the pain I've been through. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about when we're growing these things. So Left Behind Golf on Instagram, on Facebook, www.leftbehindgolf.com. And you can get a hold of me either any one of those places.
Great. Well, and you're gonna have all the links below anyway, and it's popping out if you're watching on YouTube. You're gonna have like some pop-up that you watch on the top with like the website and everything. So make sure to check him out and make sure to contact him. And if you're flying in Toronto, maybe he can pick you up at the airport.
I don't know about that. We talked about traffic before the interview got started, but we'll see. DM me. We'll think about it.
Yeah, fasten your seatbelt because the traffic here is pretty bad. But anyway, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy and the passion and all those details. And I hope that you watching and listening, you enjoyed the episode once again. And we'll see you in the next episode.